Economists say Canada's rapid population growth is challenging their understanding of the economy. This comes as they monitor how businesses and consumers are responding to high interest rates. The Canadian economy is outperforming expectations this year and avoiding the slowdown that many forecasters were anticipating in response to the Bank of Canada's aggressive rate hikes. A closer look at the numbers shows high population growth is partly responsible for the strong economic results. BMO chief economist Douglas Porter says the Canadian economy is adding around 25,000 jobs per month. This is compared to the typical 10,000 to 15,000 jobs. And it makes Mr. Porter reconsider what a normal monthly jobs report should look like. Well, joining us now to talk more on population growth and its economic impact on Canada is Dr. Moshe Lander, an economist and professor at Concordia University. Dr. Lander, welcome back to Forum Daily.
Hello.
Always great having you, sir. Now, what ways does population growth impact the economy as a whole?
Well, it affects it in lots of ways, right? If you have people moving to Canada, that means that they're brand new consumers that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And they're also producers too, right? They're going to take jobs, they're going to build businesses. They bring diversity with them. If they're coming from outside of Canada, that means they're bringing parts of their culture, which means some of their tastes and preferences are going to be different than, say, incumbent Canadians. And that brings diversity then to the economy as well. It brings a variety of different viewpoints and opinions. So generally, it's a very positive thing to have people moving to Canada.
And why are current numbers pertaining to population growth challenging the research of economists?
So part of it is that in the past, the number of people moving to Canada was rather predictable. It was controlled by the government and limitations on how many people could move. There's still limitations, but even where they're coming from is different. Primarily, a lot of the immigrants that were coming were, say, Western European, and then it slowly started to shift to Central and Eastern European, now Middle East, Africa. And so as you start to bring in different people from different backgrounds, the standard sort of behavior that we would know when they come, this is how they're going to behave when they get here, is starting to change too.
All right, Dr. Lander. Now, I guess the bigger question here would be, is this population growth and the impact that it has? If we're looking at the impact here, we're seeing more jobs, up to 10,000 more jobs per month, consumer spending, as you highlighted, on the rise as well, all adding to the greater economic pie, if you will. So is this a good thing, or are there some cons to consider here?
On the whole, it's a good thing. Most people that are moving to Canada are net contributors. There's a stereotype out there that they are here to leech off of the system and take advantage of our public welfare. That's not true. They contribute more than they use. So that's a positive for taxpayers then who are not experiencing higher taxes than necessary. The con side of it is that I think a lot of municipalities are not prepared for this higher level of immigration that's coming. And so things like the housing market, the healthcare system, the school system is not equipped for the number of people that are coming. And that requires a lot of planning in advance to anticipate what's coming. And so if those numbers have jumped, it doesn't seem that municipal services or provincial services have managed to make that jump with them.
All right, Dr. Lander, I want to touch on that. But first, let's talk a little bit more about the impact to the housing market. Now, some people are saying that this population rise is boosting the housing market during a time when interest rates are supposed to suppress demand. Can you tell us a little bit more about this trend here?
Sure. So the standard way is when you increase interest rates, it takes all kinds of demand out of the economy, especially things that are interest rate sensitive. And so housing would logically be one of them. But if you have a whole bunch of people that are moving to Canada more than what is the norm, they need a place to live. And so even if they're not coming to buy a home, they need to be able to rent from somebody, which means that that person has to buy a home. So it's driving then the demand side of the market. And so to some extent, it is counterweighing against the higher interest rates. But again, is it a net pro? I would say yes, as opposed to maybe some people who are taking the position that this is now a negative on the economy.
All right, Dr. Lander. And on that note, how do you see this population growth and its broader impact affecting moves by the Bank of Canada, especially in terms of interest rate hikes?
So the issue I would say is that I don't think we're ever going to see the Bank of Canada say, we needed to increase interest rates because of higher immigration, right? They're not a political organization. They don't want to get political, and they certainly don't want to turn immigration into something political. But the reality is that if all of this immigration that's coming into the country is creating a net boost to consumer spending, Yeah, they might have to increase interest rates more than necessary. I would point out, though, that the immigrants that are coming to this country are also producers. And so we should be seeing an increase on the supply side as well. So it's really an issue of not just are they creating only demand without supply, but how is that supply changing relative to demand? If supply is increasing in pace with demand, we shouldn't be seeing any inflationary pressure. Bank of Canada shouldn't have to do anything more than what they would normally do.
All right, Dr. Lander, always great having you on Forum Daily. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.